Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are now joined for the first time. Jarrett Bailey covers the NFL for SI Now and USA Today. Thank you so much for joining us, Jarrett. How are you doing on this Monday evening?
Fantastic, Jess.
Oh, it's Friday,
it is,
dude.
I'm
in outer space right now.
I was like, I hope it's not Monday. Like, I just missed the whole weekend.
But no, I'm doing good. Part of the fun fact, I was actually born in Frederick. So there's a little fun fact.
No way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
FMH,
so Frederick Memorial.
Small world.
Yeah, Frederick Memorial.
Right down the street from there.
98.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, Jared. Well, the other day you actually had a tweet about your final standing prediction for the NFL divisions, and you had the Commanders winning the NFC East with a 10-7 record, which got me excited. I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid. So, Jared, if you can explain to me a little bit, what made you come up to that prediction?
Yeah, I mean, you look at what this team was last year, and they were largely decimated in terms of talent. I mean, they lost Chase Young early on. The defense itself wasn't very good throughout the first 8 to 10 games. They got better, in the final month or so of the season. But now, you get a sizable upgrade in quarterback in Carson Wentz, and that's no disrespect to Taylor Heineke. He proved himself as a capable, higher end backup guy. But the people on Twitter who want everybody to believe that, Carson Wentz is like the 27th best quarterback in the NFL can kick rocks.
Man.
I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and say that Carson Wentz is, a top 10 quarterback, but I'll sit here and say he's, top 15, closer to top 15, top 20, at bare minimum top 20, compared to everybody who's saying, yeah, he might be the 30th best quarterback, and calm down. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year with Indy. The thing that everybody seems to come back to with Carson is, he played bad against Jacksonville. Yeah, you know who else played bad against Jacksonville? Josh Allen. You know who played bad against the Texans? Justin Herbert. They play the games for a reason. Anything can happen. And it just so happened that in that moment, Carson Wentz didn't play well. The Colts didn't play well. But you know what games he did play well in? Everybody in the Monday night game against Baltimore, they were leading, 26-3 at one point. I don't recall Carson Wentz blowing a 20-point lead, but I do recall him throwing for over 400 yards. I do recall him having arguably the best game of his career as well. I know that Lamar Jackson gets all the attention for that because they came back, they won, and he broke a ton of records. Carson Wentz had the best game of his career that day, too. The game against Tampa Bay, he played well.
Oh, no.
Leading big against Tennessee. I believe a lot of the time. He threw an interception over time, and that's what it is. But, when it comes down to the team, I think Wentz is going to be good. Having McLaurin, drafting Jahan Dotson, go along with Samuel. Obviously, the Brian Robinson thing does throw a little bit of a wrench into the backfield, but Antonio Gibson is still, a capable running back. Defensively, the thing that does worry me about the defense is the linebacking situation. They only have 3 linebackers on the roster right now. But the front four is obviously really good with Payne, Sweat, Allen. So I do like what I'm seeing, from that aspect. And on the secondary, Kendall Fuller, William Jackson could use a little bit of an upgrade at safety, perhaps, but there's not a lot of holes on this team. And from what we've seen over the past 20 years with the NFC East is that it's not going to be chalk. Right. Everybody's talking about, it's going to be Dallas, it's going to be Philadelphia. The Cowboys haven't been to the playoffs in consecutive years since 2006 and 2007. Wow. That is ungodly. I found that out a few weeks ago, and any chance I get to plug that is I try to do it as much as I can because it just wasn't.
I'm going to take that and use that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure before that too, it was something crazy. They hadn't had a playoff win in the longest time too. So
Yeah, no, they've got what, like 2 playoff wins, 3 playoff wins since '95. Like, it's not good. They went the longest time without a playoff win. I think Romo did get them 1, if I'm not mistaken. Against Detroit, that god awful pass interference call that should have been pass interference that was picked up. Yeah, game
Tony Romo always pulling things off that he shouldn't, like Carrie Underwood and stuff. Like, come on, Tony Romo,
I'm not gonna lie, I do love Tony Romo.
I hate him. I hated him at first, but.
Yeah, no, Tony, we can have a whole separate podcast about Tony Romo. This is a team that I think is, flying under the radar. I don't think that they necessarily mind that. Ron Rivera is a great coach. Like I said, the upgrade at quarterback offensively, like this is going to be a fun team. Plus, they have an easy schedule, a very easy schedule. They have a stretch, and I can't remember the orders of the teams. You probably have to pull it up. They play Atlanta, Houston, and the Giants twice. Very, very possible they just win 4 in a row. And that's like from like week 11 to 14, if I'm not mistaken. And they have their bye week thrown in there. So like you get that cake that late in the season when you're trying to get healthy. If you're a little bit banged up, you're playing Davis Mills. Like it's not going to exactly be, they're going to be, that little stretch is definitely going to help them a lot. So yeah. They start off against Jacksonville, Detroit. I do think Detroit will be better this year, but if I had to pick it, I would still pick Washington. And I think same thing can be said about Jacksonville. But yeah, this is team that got better, flying under the radar, relatively easy schedule. This is Washington's been a team I've been bullish on all off season, and I don't see myself fainting away from that too much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with him. Pretty much everything you said. Like we think they're going to be a 9 to 10 win team, either getting that wild card makes them win the division. So definitely feel what you put out there. But as far as the rest of the division goes, a lot of people are obviously just giving it to Philadelphia right now because all the upgrades they've made in the offseason. So why do you have Philly ranked? What do you got them at?
3rd.
You have them 3rd in the division. Why do you have Philly at 3rd when everyone else has them apparently going to the Super Bowl with all these upgrades they made?
Yeah, I was on the Fan in DC the other day, and I'm going to tell you guys what I told them, is that, one, everybody just seems to assume that Jalen Hurts is going to take this massive step forward as a passer when there's zero evidence of that. Like, he hasn't been an average passer. He's been a below average passer. Like, you look at his numbers compared to Gardner Minshew's numbers, and Gardner Minshew's numbers are astoundingly better. Obviously, Minshew doesn't make the plays with his feet that Jalen Hurts does, so you're going to start Jalen Hurts over Gardner Minshew for that athletic
All he does is win now.
Winner. I like Gardner Minshew. You're preaching to the choir here. If I could have picked a quarterback to have in Pittsburgh this year, I'm a Steelers fan, so like if I could have picked, it wouldn't have been necessarily Mitch Trubisky. I would have been very okay with Gardner Minshew coming over to Pittsburgh. So you look at, everybody made a fuss about the A.J. Brown addition, which, by the way, A.J. Brown's a very good receiver. Any team would be very lucky to have him. However, A.J. Brown also benefited from the play action style offense in Tennessee. You look at his numbers in 2020, I believe he had 8 receptions of 40 or more yards. That was tied for the most or the second most in the NFL. It was bare minimum second in the NFL. Last year, they lose Derrick Henry, obviously. They deal with a lot of injuries offensively. A.J. Brown deals with injuries himself. They don't have that play action aspect. He only has 3 such receptions. So this is a Philadelphia Eagles team that uses play action last year, the 29th most in the NFL. How's that going to affect A.J. Brown's production? Not to mention, I saw somebody say that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are the most talented receiving duo in football. And I was like, bro, I understand you are an Eagles fan. That is great. But I can name at least 6 off the top of my head that I would take over those 2. So, I think that A.J. Brown is very good. But to assume that Jalen Hurts is just going to become Joe Montana overnight, that is a little bit optimistic. I think their defense is going to be good. I love the addition of Hassan Reddick. They get Gardner Johnson from New Orleans, Nakobe Dean, Darius Slay. Their defense is going to be good. But it's how much can the offense produce? Plus, Philadelphia went 1-8, including playoffs, against teams with winning records last year. The only team that they beat with a winning record was the New Orleans Saints with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. So it's not as if they were plowing through the top of the NFL. They had their chances too. They played Kansas City and they got boat raced. They got boat raced by the Buccaneers in the playoffs. They had chances to beat good teams and they didn't do it. So that is why I am out on the Philadelphia Eagles. My dog is freaking out, actually. I'm going to let him out real quick. So I will be right back.
You're good. Let it go, do your thing.
I'm kind of right there with the whole Eagles thing. It's like everybody all of a sudden is just anointed Jalen Hurts, some new savior. Even though, like, when you really, like, even in fantasy, people are overdrafting Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, I understand that he gets you rushing yards, but he's not that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's a great
guy.
right. So everyone just
right. No, yeah, and he's got potential. But so my notes thing froze right here, Kyle. So I'm gonna have to steal your question. I apologize for this, but Ron Rivera was brought in here to kind of change the culture in Washington. It seems, I mean, at least to us, we're homers though. So it seems like he seems to be doing a pretty good job, but what is kind of the national perception of Ron Rivera from an outsider? When we originally hired him, I told my Ravens friend, he was asking why we hired him, if he just got fired. And I was like, we brought in here to change the culture. And he was like, well, oh yeah, because Carolina had such a great culture. And I was like, okay, valid point, I guess, but go on. So how do you feel about Ron?
Ron Rivera is like the protective older brother in a house of like alcoholic parents. Like he's just trying to make the best out of what he can do. Like
perfect description.
Yeah.
I applaud. Look, I love Ron Rivera. I applaud everything that he's been able to do since he's gotten to Washington. And there wasn't really a better guy that they could have brought in just to try to change things. Like you go from Jay Gruden, who apparently is,
smoking darts and hitting on college chicks.
Yeah, just ripping darts and strip poker, whatever the hell was happening up in the offices. So, yeah, I mean that's a hard thing to try to to lure guys in and be like, look, I know what this front office and what this owner is notorious for. Dan Snyder is not good for football, I know, but look, just come on board and we can try to make something special. And look, to his credit, he brings over Samuel from Carolina, who, obviously there was a connection there. Getting Carson Wentz to come over. Plus, I mean, all these guys seem to really love him. Like Chase Young seems to be, a great dude. Like I think they're worried about getting quality guys as much as they're looking to get quality football players, which is, for a team trying to change their culture, that's all you can really do. For as Chase Young, for as much as he does for the Washington community, you see guys like McLaurin, who seems to be really just a well-behaved guy who people seem to like. They're straying away from. They're not going to be a team that trades for a Deshaun Watson, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah,
they're not
media circus.
They're not Cleveland. Yeah, so. Right. I do think that Ron has done as well a job as he can in terms of changing the culture. I think bringing a guy like Alex Smith when he did as well, or having Alex Smith come back, and I think that was big for the team as well, and the way that he played and helping lead them to the playoffs. Like he's done as well as he can, and that turmoil. He's made a lot of chicken salad out of chicken, you know what? So that's all you can ask of him.
Yeah, and that was so perfect of a description you had originally. But Jarrett, to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you. The first one I wanted to ask, the Jaguars game, week 1 is here, baby. Football season is upon us. Face the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not going to lie, Trevor Lawrence looks like a brand new quarterback under Doug Peterson.
Right.
How do you expect that game to go, and who's somebody on the Jags that Washington has to pay attention to?
You know what? I'm actually going to pull up the lines for that right now because I am curious as to what that is, what the lines for that
Washington's -3.
Yeah, there's
that one
meme going
that sounds
around
fair.
where it was like 6 different analysts were picked the Jaguars to win.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Jacksonville to win. I'm going to pick Washington to win. I think a 3-point line is fair. I think it'll be close. In terms of who Washington needs to keep an eye on, I do think that Travis Etienne is bound to have a big year bouncing back from the ACL injury. I loved him coming out of Clemson last year. It was a shame that he got injured in the preseason. We weren't able to see what he could do. Albeit, though, I mean, he would have spent most of the season with Urban Meyer, so it was probably a blessing in disguise that he kind of didn't have to deal with all that.
Probably wasn't even hurt. Yeah, just milked it. It was like, I'm not going in. That guy's kicking punters and shit. Oh.
So, Travis Etienne, I'm very excited to see him play. They're going to use him in a variety of ways, whether it's out of the backfield, in the slot. He might just become their, de facto Deebo Samuel type guy now that Laviska Shenault is no longer there. So yeah, I'm excited about Travis Etienne. I'm excited about Christian Kirk, not just because he was like one of the first players I ever interviewed, so I have a soft spot for Christian Kirk. But hey, if you give a guy that much money, he better produce, and somebody's got to catch passes from Trevor Lawrence. So Etienne, Christian Kirk, they're definitely gonna be amongst the top pass catchers for Jacksonville. Excited to see what they can do. We'll see if Trayvon Walker was worth that number 1 overall selection. I know that everybody kind of memed the Jaguars front office for doing that. So we'll see if he can, kind of make people eat their words as well.
Absolutely. And then my next question, Washington, their first-round pick, Jahan Dotson, has made a lot of waves here in Washington. Everyone's very excited to see how he performs week 1 in this season. How does he stack up versus the other rookie wide receivers around the league?
I love Jahan Dotson. Like, I'm a Penn State guy, so I know all about Jahan Dotson. I was very excited to see him get selected by Washington. To pairing him with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, who, by the way, they didn't have like all of last year because he got hurt. So, I mean, that's going to be a very, very sneaky wide receiving trio to watch. KJ Hamler was the guy that he had before him, and everybody was really high on KJ Hamler. But I think Jahan Dotson has the ability, like, very much potential to be better than KJ Hamler. You can put him in the slot, you can put him outside, deep route tree, very smart, high football IQ, can create his own space. So I'm a big believer in Jahan Dotson. However they decide to use him, they're going to get the very best out of him. I'm looking forward to see what he does. Obviously, Terry's going to be the number 1 guy, but I would expect Jahan Dotson's going to be that number 2 sooner rather than later.
I love to hear that. Last question I have for you is kind of off the field stuff, but I am intrigued to see your opinion on this. The new uniforms obviously came out with the white, the burgundy, and then the black ones. A lot of the fan base will say they're copying the Steelers' uniforms. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on the uniforms, if you like them, and then do you think that there is a similarity between the blacks?
I like the uniforms. I really do. I crapped on the Falcons ombre uniforms because they did it on like the actual uniform. The stuff that the Commanders do with like the numbers, I liked that. I think that the design as a whole is cool. The helmets are beautiful. I'm a sucker for a good matte helmet.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy the helmets. Now I will say the black ones are a toilet salad. I hate everything about them. They are not good. They are horrible. The helmets especially, they are not good. So that is my only qualm with it. Yeah, no, it's bad. That is my only qualm with the new uniforms. Everything else I really liked. I was kind of against the name Commanders at first too. I've come around to that. Even like that sounds fine. The only qualm I think I have with the Commanders is potential upgrade at safety. Need more linebackers. Never wear those black uniforms ever. They're god awful.
Well,
don't watch us in November.
The next time we host the Steelers, we'll make sure to wear them. Probably.
Yeah. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, terribly. Jarrett, I can't thank you enough for joining us, sir. I know you're a very, very busy guy. I hope before you get out of here, just want to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody wants to come follow your work.
No, I appreciate it. You caught me with. I am absolutely not dressed for the occasion, by the way. I am dressed down at the moment. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at JBaileyNFL. Catch anything from 33rd Team, Sports Illustrated, USA Today, the Pump Fake podcast, which. When's the next one coming out? I'll figure that out. I honestly don't have it at the top of my head. Before week 1 is when it'll come out. So probably like next Tuesday, if I had to guess, is when I'll be doing it. So yeah, everything on Twitter at JBaileyNFL.
Bailey, I can't thank you enough, brother. Have a good weekend. Best of luck to you, brother.
Thank you.
Brother.
Thanks, man.
I'd see it.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I was very happy to hear everything he had to say. You know, I am Homer Simpson myself, so I'm glad to hear all that. But I will say, dude, his point about the Eagles is a very, very good one.
Yeah, 100%. And look, like he talked about the Eagles fans saying that Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are the most talented wide receiver duo in the NFL. They're talented. They're both good. They're very good. But that's what Eagles fans do. That's what the Eagles do too. They start signing these free agents. They start getting these players. All of a sudden, it's Vince Young, baby. We're the dream team. And look at what happened. You know,
it all circles back to, in my opinion, people crapped on Carson Wentz because he had all the talent in the world, wasn't a good locker room guy, wasn't a good leader. What is Jalen Hurts? I'm not going to say he has all the talent in the world, but he has some type of talent.
Yeah, right.
He has an all right arm, like arm talent, but he's a great locker room guy. He's a great leader. So people just like, well, he's a great guy and a great leader, so it'll translate onto the field. And it's like,
yeah, it's like he's in the shittiest city possible.
That doesn't mean anything when it comes to like throwing the football and being accurate with the football. Just because you work hard, you're a great leader, doesn't mean you're going to get more accurate in the offseason. So we'll see.
Yeah, I want to get your guys' reactions to John Bostic and David Mayo being re-signed. A lot of the guys were able to come back on the practice squad. We wanted to see Jarrett Patterson come back. Danny Johnson was played, and then Curtis Hodges was placed on the IR list. And then they signed and claimed Tyreek Castro Fields and Rashad Wild Goose, who are both cornerbacks. I love Wild Goose.
Yes. I love the Castro Fields signing. The Castro Fields was pretty sure Hall did the breakdown of him during the offseason. I like Castro Fields. I liked him coming out of Penn State. I like that a lot. Of course, we didn't keep that many quarters on the original roster, so it made a lot of sense. But yeah, of course, we could have called the John Bostic situation. Dude, we knew who was coming.
I've been saying that for a long time. Yeah. I was like, look, you guys keep talking about Anthony Barr, but if we want a slow linebacker, why don't we just get John Bostic back here? Right. And that's like I understand it from a depth point of view, because when you want a middle linebacker to come in an emergency situation, you want to be confident that they could get the play across and get everyone situated and ready to go. Last thing you want to do is send a field general out there that's kind of doesn't know what to do. Then everything else is going to fall into chaos. And so I could understand the familiarity, the experience, and the kind of leadership aspect why you'd want that in your depth piece. I totally understood why they went out and got John Bostic. Do I agree with it? I'm not 100% sure. I could tell you that just because I don't know everything. I'm just saying I would have liked to see a guy like Troy Anderson drafted or whatever have you, but he wasn't. I'm not going to sit here and cry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with you. I understand why they did it. Obviously, he knows the system. He can make all the calls. If a guy like Cole Holcomb goes down, who's going to be the middle linebacker? They're going to throw Jamin in there. We've already seen that experiment, what happened last year with that. So at the end of the day, I understand why they did it. Depth piece. Like I said, a guy that's familiar with the system, been here already. Like you said, do I agree with it? Would I like to see them maybe go after someone else that's a little bit more athletic than John Bostic? Sure. Do I know who that guy is on the market? No, because I don't study all the free agent linebackers out there like that. I probably should. But at the end of the day, like you said, I know why they did it. And, yeah, like I said, I don't all the way agree with it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And he's on the squad, so if he gets out there, hopefully he produces.
Yeah, and by far the most exciting kind of guy making the 53-man roster was Jeremy Reeves. He's never made the 53-man roster in his career here in Washington in the NFL. It's his first time doing it. And, dude, you're just so happy to hear that. Because, like, every time he steps on that field, he's not going to take it for granted. You know what I mean? And, I'm just glad to see that Jeremy Reeves finally was able to reach this point in confidence with the team and in himself.
They released that pep talk that he was giving the team before the Ravens game, and he was like, "Look, guys, this is it. Like, you think that they don't put stock into this third preseason game? They do. This is for you. They have a few holes to fill. Take it from me. I've been cut. I've been brought back, and yeah, just you got to be happy for the guy, man. It seems like he's been around forever with us, and so it's surprising that he's never made an opening day roster, but it's well deserved."
Yeah, and I even brought after that, I was like, wait, I had a realization. I was like, wait, does that mean? Could Jeremy Reeves play Buffalo nickel? And I was like, wait a minute. Is that why they kept the extra safety? Because they kept 5 safeties. They had only, 3 or 4 cornerbacks? And so I was like, wait, what's going on here? Like, wow. If that's the case,
I don't think they're really
totally understand it.
Use them too much of a Buffalo nickel that much anymore. I mean, they're going by their personnel. So, I mean, they're going to kind of have Benjamin St. Juste in that slot role, kind of playing a little bit bigger, playing closer inside, closer to the line. And he's kind of just going to take over, not even a Buffalo nickel role. I don't even think – who was it? Was it Selby? Who was it on here who was talking about how they probably not even really using a Buffalo nickel anymore? But I do like Jeremy Reeves. I think could do it if they needed him to.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I kind of mean. Like, they're going to use the 3 safety set. So whenever I say Buffalo nickel, I mean the third safety on the field.
Yeah. No, you're just saying, but I'm just saying.
To your point about him making the week 1 roster, being on the roster, with Cam Curl's injury, no one knows what's going on with that. And
so apparently,
let's hit up Greg.
So apparently, it's a thumb injury that happened, and so when it's a severe thumb injury like that, they have to put a wrap in it. And so I think it required surgery. I'm not 100% sure, but I messaged Coach Curl and I asked him. I hoped everything was okay. I was sending prayers his way, and he said he's good. So I told him I'm glad to hear that. That's all I wanted to hear. That's all I wanted to hear, baby.
There it is. Well, either way, if Cam's banged up, then Jeremy can step in there. We've seen him step in before back in 2020 and a little bit last year. And he's just a guy that's always around the ball making plays. So glad he made the roster finally after what? I think he's been here for 5 years now. So
Something like
glad he
that,
finally
yeah.
made the roster week 1.
Yeah, it's just crazy because, like, I kept talking about, like, I didn't want guys getting injured during preseason games because it doesn't matter, right? But then we had, like, basically 2 guys get taken off of the team, not literally take off the team, but taken away from playing because of, like, things happen off the field. And it's just like, it's crazy that it didn't happen in the preseason games, but it happened off the field. It's just nuts that we have to go into the season with this sort of thing going on. But I trust Cam Curl's going to be fine.
Every team deals with injuries like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point. But we're going to be joined by our next guest here momentarily. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, you brought it up earlier, the NFL Network picking, the analysts for NFL Network picked the predictions for the Jaguars of Washington game. And 6 out of the 8 picked Jacksonville to win?
Yeah, was that so? I've been seeing that for a couple weeks now, and I have no idea how real I've seen a bunch of people, but I'm assuming that it's got to be. And look, I get the Jaguars hype, man. Trevor Lawrence, we know what kind of a prospect he was. We know that he's good. I love the signing for them with Doug Peterson, Travis Etienne. Of course, they've got 2 good running backs. They had the number 1 pick again and drafted Trayvon Walker, who's looked really good. But they're the Jaguars. I don't believe that 6 out of 8 NFL analysts would pick them over the Washington Commanders, who have finished with back-to-back seasons with 7 wins. They're on the cusp. They could easily make the playoffs this year. I mean, they could have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they could have an offense that is very explosive. So I get maybe they're thinking it's a trap game, but I just don't see how you look at these 2 teams. And of course, I'm biased, I know, and just say, you know what? A majority of people, the Jaguars are going to win this.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was thinking about it. Because I was like, I understand the Jaguars got better, and Doug Peterson is miles
They
better.
Still won 2 games last year.
Yeah, are still miles better than Urban Meyer. Like, that is obviously an upgrade. They upgraded this offseason. They made a bunch of great quality picks and free agents to bring in here. It's going to be a quality team. But so did the Washington. So did the Commanders. And, like, my whole thing is, if you look at these 2 teams on paper, and if I were to bet, I would say it would be more split 4-4, just based on pedigree of where they are, what they did last season. And that's why I'm like right where you are. I'm like, only 2 of them picked us to win. Like that was just weird. But look, they're the bad boys of the NFL. The Commanders are. No one's gonna pick them to win. They're gonna be facing this all season long until they bandwagon on, until they win some games. They're gonna say, "Wow, the Commanders are really good. Nobody expected it."
Yeah, because like I mean, I don't want to toot my horn, but I'm like the bad guy of this podcast, pretty much. So it's like, it's just cool that they're the bad guys of the NFL too. So
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, thanks.
I saw Adam Rank was on there, so I just kind of figured.
Oh, was he? Oh, God. Okay, yeah, well, that makes it.
So awesome. Because he already picked us to go like 2 and like 15 or something ridiculous.
He's ranked last. My favorite NFL commentators. Dude sucks.
Definitely don't listen to him for anything fantasy wise. But look, like you said, I can see it like split 4-4, maybe 5-4 Washington, 5-4 Jaguars. As far as like or 5-4 is 9.
5-3.
5-3. I can see like 5-3 or like 5-3 Jaguars. But like you said, for 6 out of 8 people to pick the Jaguars to win. And I think, like, if I'm looking back and I'm trying to remember, I think, like, 3 of them were, like, by, like, 7 to 10 points or, like, something like that. Like, less than a field goal type of, like, a win. So it's like, all right, clearly there's something, like, I don't know. They got something against the Commanders. Like you said, no one's going to pick them to win until they actually go out there and prove it and win. So this is what it is.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point because the one thing about the Lions last season was the Lions like lost a bunch of close games. They were in a lot of the games but lost a bunch. So it's the opposite with the Jaguars, to your point.
Stop talking about him. He's here.
But now we are rejoined by our guy, Mr. Keith Gray.
I thought that was Jesse. His name says Jesse on his Zoom.
Oh, I didn't sign out of Jesse's name. My fault.
Damn,
fellas.
You should record yourself doing something weird.
Well,
no, but
his beard is weird. So
all right, MGK. That was the MGK from Killshot. He said your beard's weird.
Oh yeah, your beard's weird.
But Keith, I wanted to get basically your reaction to everything that happened to you yesterday. Obviously, you went to the Welcome Home Luncheon for the Commanders. Everyone was there. We saw the pictures of you from Twitter. I loved your shoes, by the way, the Burgundy shoes. They were absolutely perfect. How was the time, brother?
Well, thank you for that. I feel like that I didn't get the credit for the burgundy drip that I had on, down at the bottom. So
You even
I
added in the
appreciate you
black
mentioning-
too, with the new colors. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Black is not a part of the colors, sir. It's burgundy and gold.
Our alternate jerseys beg to differ, my guy.
Oh, you're right. Well, let's not argue about this. Carrying on. Oh, sorry, gentlemen. Listen, the luncheon. First of all, I was extremely privileged and thankful that I was even invited to this. I mean, obviously, they've been doing this. Well, this was the 60th anniversary, so they went on a hiatus during COVID, of course, but they were back. So to be invited to this was mind blowing. So I knew that in order to not embarrass anyone, I had to go get my Jose Banks buy one get one free suit.
There you go.
I had to get my 1999 shirt and tie, and of course, those shoes. And so, anyways, I showed up there, man. I had an amazing time. It was an experience of a lifetime. You read and see these things on the internet, but to be physically there, it was unreal. So, what do you want to know?
Dude, your Doug Williams story that I saw you post on the book, that was super interesting. That was cool. Well, how did Doug react to that? I mean, you want to talk about what happened?
He showed his best, being genuine. He looked at me and he kind of did that eyes closed thing. Like he really appreciated what I said.
Right.
I'm sure he hears stories like that all the time. In fact, actually, someone actually saw him that evening and the dad story was, kind of similar. So I'm sure he hears it all the time. But for me personally, in my closure, I never had the opportunity to get to meet him. So to be able to have a few minutes to just slide right in and mingle and, just share that story, as a fan, it kind of just, I was able to walk away from that and just say, wow, I know that he's going to forget about this in 15 minutes, but in that very moment, I mean, that's the facts and the reality, but in that very moment, his attention was towards me and I thought that was super cool. So, I decided to share that story with everyone else in a nutshell because, I know some people take this as, it's important to me at least. And I appreciate the love and support that people do give me on Twitter when it comes to this, because I know that it's weird for me going from Troll Keith to Hog Farmer Keith to, opening up about my life, because clearly I talk about
to human sex trafficking
things.
Keith.
Whoa, buddy. Whoa.
Do people not know about that? Okay. All right. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, come on. You're ruining Kyle's show that no one listens to.
It's established earlier. I'm the bad boy I'm the AJ from Backstreet Boys of this group. So
I met him in Orlando. He's a real short dude. So
really, so he's not that tough.
It makes sense.
Okay.
No.
Kind of like
like 6'2".
Isn't that New Kids on the Block like hanging? Anyways, so come on, guys, reel this back in. Like this show's out of control already.
We're off the rails, baby.
No, but seriously, Keith, that was really cool to see. Not everyone gets invited to those things, and anybody would be in your position would absolutely love it and soak it all in. So the fact that you did that and it took it as kind of like a heart piece with you, that shows that you really appreciated it, and that just makes everybody happy, brother. But to wrap this up,
I was gonna say I took less pictures just because I was actually, for once in my life,
my man,
I wasn't worried about showing a bunch of people. I was more concerned with just embracing the moment on my own.
My man, that's my usual problem is I forget to take pictures and then I get yelled at by my wife. But
usually you take them, but you're too ugly and break the camera, Kyle.
You guys are going on me today. Jeez.
Damn, dude.
I know, but let's go to our fan questions. Let's go to the Colonel with this first one. Keith, I want to go to you first. What does it say that none of our players were picked up off waivers, yet 7 players from the New York Jets were? How does that speak to the quality of our backup players, Keith?
Who cares? Like, why do we focus on, and nothing against the person who asked this, but why do we care about that? I mean, they were cut. Why do we care if another team goes and picks them up or not? I mean, at the end of the day, they were cut for a reason. They're not on our team. Move on. Focus on the people that, are joining our squad, and support that. I mean, this isn't to go in on the fan base, but, so what? We keep these guys. I mean, you would have people that would put them in the practice squad Hall of Fame. So it's just typically what we do. Like, just don't focus on it. Who cares?
Yeah,
and Jacobs.
One thing is the Rams didn't have anybody picked up off of their waivers, Colonel, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs were another team. I think it's more of an indication that you're not breaking down your roster the right way you should, because you should be keeping the guys on your roster that other teams want to take, and you should be dropping the guys that you want to bring back on the practice squad so you can keep your mold together as much as possible. I understand how people can look at it and say, wow, people think the Jets' depth is better than ours. I understand that completely. I just think it's more like they're blind in the way that who they're cutting, and the rest of the NFL is saying, oh, yeah, I want some of that. And they're almost like useful idiots in a way, and that's just how I kind of view it. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we had I know that there was a lot of fan favorites that got cut. I mean, you look at like Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson. Who's Jarrett Peterson? That sounds Jordan Peterson. I don't know. Jarrett Patterson. And we have good guys, but it's also like we have a set team. We know the players are. We didn't have that many holes to fill. So the guys who didn't make it, unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. I'd be kind of upset if we were cutting players that a lot of teams wanted to go out there and just pick up immediately, probably be doing something wrong.
Yeah, and one thing in this that I will take and with not a grain of salt, but I am happy about, is the fact that there aren't any real glaring holes besides depth. And we're not scrounging to replace anybody on this roster at any point because it's a glaring weakness. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy about that. I know everyone's kind of concerned about the depth, and as well as you should be. But I am happier that it's not a huge hole somewhere where we need somebody, and it's more in the depth area. Just hope that we stay healthy throughout the season. What were you saying, Hall?
No, yeah, pretty much like the same point as you, is that I think they just cut the guys that they knew that they would be able to pick back up and stash on the practice squad. So I don't think it's more of like a thing that like the rest of the NFL is like, ew, those guys are bums. I don't want them. Like, I think it's more of like, okay, hey, we're going to keep this guy, but just – and I'm sure like GM, like I'm sure like coaches and probably tell them like, hey, we're going to tell your agent like, hey, we're going to call you back. If another team calls, don't answer. We want you back, like blah, blah, blah. So
that's part of the strategy. Like you said, like we're going to cut this guy. We're not going to lose him, or it doesn't matter if we lose him.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I just think that they cut the guys that they knew they'd be able to bring back to the practice squad. And I'd rather have guys that already been around the rest of the guys, know the system, rather than some new guys coming in. You got to reteach them, and maybe it might not work out as well. So that's how I feel about it.
Yep. And now, Keith, this next question from the Colonel. You've been at training camp a bunch. I know, obviously, you pride yourself of being an X's and O's guy. So should we be surprised the Commanders kept such a robust tight end group? After all, hasn't Wentz historically benefited from his tight ends and larger receivers?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's a smart decision. Plus, these tight ends that we have, they're not bad. I mean, they're good. They're good receiver or good tight ends. They can catch the ball. It's no secret, as you said. I mean, it's no secret. Wentz loves his tight ends. I mean, he had a great relationship with Zach Ertz. So you hope that he develops, the same type of relationship, with the guys that we have.
Yeah, I didn't know that Carson Wentz and Mike Reed had so much in common.
I was just about to say it. Carson Wentz is clearly he's the Elton John of the NFL, man. He just loves tight ends, tight little ends.
Like Reed. I know you were pissed about Sammis Reyes, dude.
I was though, and now he's just out there taking Instagram pictures, modeling like nothing happened. Like at least be a little bit sad, Sammis, okay? Because we're all hurting.
Yeah, Colonel, I think Keith explained that perfectly. You saw throughout training camp that tight end group was one of the stronger groups. It didn't matter who they put out there. Even Armani Rogers, who was playing quarterback not too long ago, showed out really well and caught every ball thrown his way by Carson Wentz. Just looked really good. And so if there was any position you really felt comfortable with of them keeping big numbers, it's definitely that tight end group, because you're going to need that extra help on the in case during the season. Logan Thomas is iffy, John Bates being banged up. So I'm glad that they kept extra there, because the injuries were concerning with that group. Anything to add, Reed or Hall?
Yeah, I think it ties back to my answer to the last question, which is they kept the guys on the roster that they knew that, hey, if we let these guys go to the waivers, they're going to get scooped up. So we'd rather keep an extra guy and cut a guy on the back end that we know that we can bring back that on the practice squad. So yeah, I just think it all ties back into who they wanted to keep over the guys that they knew they can get back.
And that's exactly what we were saying during that entire tight end position battle. We're like, which one of these guys isn't going to make the roster because they can't go to the practice squad? They're going to get scooped up. They showed off too much. So
yeah, and let's go to the Discord chat server. This is from Andy Lockhart in the UK. Oi! Keith, what the hell is Ron doing re-signing Bostic? We need to improve our linebackers, not make it the same level of trash that it already is. Dang, Andy, jeez.
Andy's been going hard.
I know. Oh, yeah. You know, this linebacker situation's been obviously huge in the social media world. I don't have an answer to this. The only thing that I can do as a fan is just, and this is going to be very hard and difficult to say because I myself, you know, have my opinions, but at the end of the day, I'm just a fan. So I have to look at our coaching staff and just hope that Ron Rivera is being truthful when he says that he likes his guys. I do feel like with him, you know, playing this position, he's going to know more than a lot of us will, even though things don't make sense to us, but he's an NFL coach. So things are going to make sense to him. So the only thing that we could do as fans is just trust in this situation. Me personally, as a fan, I'm not seeing the correlation here. Other than they obviously, you know, brought in Bostic, and I believe that it was said because he's familiar, you know, with the offense, he's familiar with the defense and what they've got going on. Bostic wasn't horrible against the run, but he did not play very well against the pass. But also, I think that obviously this was a depth signing. We're not going to run too many 3 linebacker sets, so. I don't think there's a whole lot that we need to freak out about at this point. We're not any worse than we were before, is the way that I see it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this was the starting Mike linebacker last season who's now a depth piece behind Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. So, yeah, I know you could say that it's a bad linebacking core, Andy. I totally get it. That being said, Bostic is an asset. If your backup linebacker is going to be bad in the passing game, you better be able to call the plays up front, play the run well, be a big body, and have that leadership aspect, and that's what John Bostic brings. Maybe the coaching staff doesn't feel as confident with David Mayo in that kind of position as John Bostic, and if they don't, I'm not going to say I disagree with them. Whatever you think is in your best interest, do it. And I'm glad that they were able to go back and get somebody that they feel comfortable with. Are they done yet? Not 100% sure, but I am saying I'm not going to panic about it. They know this team. They have their name attached to it. Let's see how it goes. I'm not going to sit here and point blame because Ron Rivera has made plenty of decisions in this team, and every single one has been questioned and said that they don't know what they're doing. Logan Thomas balled out. J.D. McKissick balled out. They did a lot of things that people questioned, and Ron Rivera made him look stupid, but he never made him show the receipts. And so I give him the benefit of the doubt for this.
Right, and that's the thing. We already have our 2 starting linebackers, like you said. I mean, we're not running 3 linebacker sets too often. I think we only had 3 linebackers on the field last season. What was it, 9% of the time or something?
It was like 27 snaps in total.
Right. So it's really, it's not, he's not, unless of course the plan isn't for him to be on the field that often. So it's all good, but he knows the defense. He can get people lined up. He can help these 2 young guys that are in front of him. And I mean, I get it. It's not the sexiest signing, but you know, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. And Hall, I want to go to you with this first. Keith, this is right up your alley. I love this one. But Scott Hartley in the UK asks, how comfortable are you with the 53 going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it like
do it
7.
out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 7, maybe like a 7.5, just because everything we already talked about before, like the starting 11 or the starting 22 on both sides of the ball, special teams like Tressway, Joey Slye, them guys. I have confidence in the starters and the rotational guys. It's once you kind of get past those rotational guys and the rest of the depth on the roster is where you kind of grimace like, if it comes to this guy, who knows? If it comes to that guy, who knows? But as far as, I mean, just overall, I like where it's at. Like we said before, there wasn't a lot of open spots up for this team coming into the offseason anyway. Right. They brought a lot of people back they were already comfortable with and familiar with. They just kind of added here and there like similar or small piece. Well, I guess Carson Wentz is not small; he's a quarterback, but they added what they thought was needed, which was the quarterback. So in their eyes, I guess they feel like this team is ready to compete and they got the pieces they need. They just needed the quarterback. So if they're comfortable with it, I guess like Keith was saying, as a fan, what option do you have other than to be comfortable with it as well? And you just got to see how it plays out in all 18 weeks.
Yeah, if I had to put it 0 out of 10, I would say probably about a 5. And that's as high as I could possibly go without seeing them play an entire game. I feel like it's unfair to judge them based off of a half because this is a team that plays one good half, one bad half. And so it's really hard to gauge them just based on quarters or one half. So I'm at about a 5. I like the construction of the team. Like Jarrett said earlier, there's no real big, huge weakness on this team anymore. Quarterback was that last season and wide receiver. That has been flipped. They invested heavily into the offense. They went and got Carson Wentz, a good quarterback that can come in here and elevate this offense to another peg. So I am comfortable, but I have to see it execute on the field. So I'm going in with a 5, but I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I like the structure of what they went into it with. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah, I'm going to have to echo the same thing. I'm going to go with the 5 as well, and that's because I'm setting my expectations low, but I'm hoping for high ceiling success. Yeah. Like we've all said, I mean, Wentz is obviously an upgrade at the quarterback position. We've been searching for that role, at least to have some consistency in that role since basically Kirk Cousins. So now we have a guy who's, tall, he can see over. He has an NFL arm. There's obviously, with all the fans, there's excitement there to see what he can bring to the table on the field. Obviously, we would love to see a 2017 Carson Wentz. This fan base, this team needs a guy to perform like that. But even if we had a 2021 Carson Wentz, it's still better situation. So even, his year in Indy is still a great year here in Washington. Right. So, there's huge optimism when it comes to the offense. I think we're all excited. Unfortunately with the B-Rob situation, that kind of lowers my expectations out at this point because I don't really have a lot of trust or confidence that Gibson can go through a game without fumbling. And that's just a fair statement because that's what he's done, and he's done it in crucial times. However, like I said, I'm going to roll with the 5 because I agree with you. What we saw in preseason is not their game plan that we're seeing in preseason where they're testing out different guys, in these positions and seeing what they have. And I'm sure, offense and defense are creating packages that are going to tailor these guys' skill sets. So, we hope that, coming in against Jacksonville, it's not going to be an easy task. Let's let a full game play out, really see what we have, on our field, and then kind of make judgments from there. But I'll stick with a 5 because I'm just keeping my expectations low. I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah, and to be perfectly, Hall and I were talking before we started recording, and I talked to him about like how in 2012 I didn't have high expectations for this team. Then they blew the door off of that, obviously. And I've always said it's probably a good thing that I'm not so high on the team. I think the preseason did kind of chill me out just a little bit, just based on what could possibly happen, not thinking in guarantees or certainties in that breath. But to your point, Keith, about Carson Wentz and that quarterback room, Martin Mayhew echoed those same sentiments in his press conference to Ron Rivera to the press earlier this week, saying that Carson Wentz has solidified that quarterback room. What do you think, Reed?
I'm a 9. Are we talking about me or like the roster? How I feel about the roster? Oh, well then.
I like how everyone just paused. Like
we knew the bit was going.
Well then, just like senior prom, baby, I'm going with a 5.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what. If I'm the most optimistic, we might be in trouble.
Yes, dude. Seriously, you're not lying. But Reed, I want to go to this next question. This is from Tim Towner on Twitter. My guy. Identify one player on offense that will elevate their play to a level that will lift the entire team to perform better and become better winners.
So, I mean, this might be a cop-out, but and especially because he's a rookie, but the obvious answer has got to be Jahan Dotson. I mean, just coming in here, what he can bring to this offense. All we've heard about for the last few years is Terry McLaurin getting double teamed. Terry McLaurin, all the coverages just roll towards Terry. He can't do anything. Getting Jahan Dotson was so huge, not only having a first-round wide receiver with a very good skill set, a very different skill set, but the fact that he's actually good and the fact that he knows how to run crisp routes and he takes it serious. He's a pro's pro. Like Logan Paulson, my best friend, always talks about these wide receivers that are coming into the league nowadays, they're not like it used to be. Like you used to have to give a wide receiver about 3 years before he could really start doing anything and making any sort of impact. Now they're expected to produce right away. I mean, you look at Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, all these guys that are coming in, it's because they're running routes since they're 8 years old. They know what they're doing, a lot of them. So if you can find the right guy, which Jahan Dotson is, I mean, he's a good kid. He can come in here. He can really help elevate this offense, and it'll just be huge at having Terry seeing single coverage.
And what about you, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to cop out and agree with Mike here, but, you know, talking about sophomore slump, he's 100% correct. I mean, that term sophomore slump, and then boom, you know, hopefully they hit big in their third, but these receivers right now are expected to hit big. So we can't allow our number one guy to get double teamed. So hopefully Dotson and Curtis Samuel kind of help this situation out where Carson can, you know, spread the ball out a little bit. What I don't want to see is Carson Wentz completely relying on his tight ends. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, you know, our top two guys, you know, are banged up a little bit. So, you know, we want to keep these guys healthy. We want the ball to be spread around. So I would just have to roll with that.
The number one guy on this podcast is constantly getting double teamed too. Kyle, we've been meaning to talk to you about that. You really need to stop.
Stupid. But for me, I think this is very easy for me, Tim, and it's Antonio Gibson with Brian Robinson missing some time early on. Antonio Gibson elevating his play, being able to run average 5 yards per carry. I've said so many times how important it is for this offense to be able to run the ball consistently. And if Antonio Gibson can elevate his play, if they can run the ball consistently and make it a threat, that's going to transition to points, into red zone conversion, and more points makes the defense's job just a little bit more easier. So for that breath, I think it's Antonio Gibson. What about you, Hall? Sorry, I know I took Gibson.
Yeah, since you took mine, I'm going to pivot and say...
You can just piggyback. It's okay. Keith did it.
Nope, I'm not piggybacking because he was going to be my second choice anyway. I'm going to say Curtis Samuel. I think that he's going to come out, have an explosive week one. Like, obviously, I'm sure he heard all the noise, everyone talking about how he's a bust and it was a bad signing. We should have never signed him, all that ridiculousness. And I just feel like he's been listening to it and he's ready to go. We saw him at OTAs. He hasn't been held out of practice anytime recently. It seems like the plan that Ron talked about, that everyone made fun of, is actually a real plan and it actually worked out. So I definitely think that coming out week one, he's going to have an explosive week one. I think Scott Turner is going to make an effort to get him the ball just to show everybody, like, this is what we missed last year. And I think people are going to feed off the energy he's bringing to the offense because we missed a lot of that last year. So I definitely think that Curtis Samuel is going to be that guy.
One guy on defense.
I'd like to notate that I mentioned Curtis Samuel, though, so technically he piggybacked off me. But that's okay.
Yeah.
He did so anyway.
Okay.
What about one defensive player, Hall?
Defensive player.
Like,
I'm gonna go William Jackson. I think that
you see, you got me back.
Yeah,
There's your revenge.
exactly. There we go. William Jackson. I think same thing with Curtis Samuel. People dogging William Jackson last year, rightfully so. He didn't play very good the first half of the season, but towards the end of the season, you didn't hear his name called that much. And as a cornerback, that's a good thing. So I definitely think that hopefully he carries that over. Just thinking back to his press conference during the summer that he had at OTAs or training camp, whatever it was, he just seemed a lot more loose, a lot more confident, just like a lot more, I guess, confident. And so I think he's going to bring that to the field. And I think that he comes out, he locks down either Marvin Jones or Christian Kirk, one of those guys. And I think he just makes a hard day for Trevor Lawrence, hopefully. Maybe gets a pick, maybe a batted ball, something like that. And I think, like I said, same thing with Curtis Samuel. People dogged him, kind of made a big deal about how he was a bad signing. And I think the defense kind of feeds off that and just, like, gets confidence with him.
Yeah, I love how everyone fries watched it for Curtis Samuel, but, you know, we're sitting here looking at Kenny Galladay like, my goodness. But for me, I think it's fairly easy, but it's a cop-out answer. I'm sorry, Tim. It's Montez Sweat and James Smith-Williams. If they can elevate their play, if they can get to the quarterback and have a sustainable pass rush, it makes everything easier in the back end. Last season, they kind of struggled to be able to create constant pressure and to solidify the quarterback in the pocket. If James Smith-Williams and Montez Sweat elevate their play in that sense, makes this defense 10 times better.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with somebody who disappointed a lot of people last year. And I'm not talking about me having dinner with my parents. I'm talking about Jamin Davis. If Jamin Davis can come out here and be a legitimate starting linebacker in the NFL and use his athleticism, because he's so rare in terms of his athleticism and stuff, he can really, really make a huge impact behind this defensive line. And with these corners covering This dude could really make a huge impact if you can get the most out of him.
Sorry, Keith.
That's all right. I'm going to take the guy next to him then. I'm going to go Cole Holcomb. I mean, obviously with him put in the Mike position, that's a huge role. I mean, it's the quarterback of the defense. There's a lot of people that are down on him right now, but I think we failed to pay attention that Cole Holcomb turned up the heat a little bit towards the end of the season last year and was actually playing pretty decent. But to kind of piggyback off of where you said Sweat, I mean, that makes 110%, sense. If our D-line can control what's going on, against the opposing quarterback, it's actually going to help the linebacker core play better as well. So it's a domino effect. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that, if Jamin Davis, which, it's been rumored and said that he's actually played well in preseason, we have the combination of that and the continuation of the way Cole Holcomb was, playing last season. I think that we're going to be a little bit okay. And I do think that that's what Rivera's actually seen through his decision making process when it comes to the linebackers. So I think all of these people that we mentioned, they have to be cohesive in order for everyone to be successful.
Right. And I've said this 1,000 times, but I feel like Cole Holcomb's in for a big year just because, out of nowhere, they started pushing Cole Holcomb almost down your throat, like Kyle on a Saturday night. I'm sorry, Kyle. Yeah, they just kept. They just all. I'm sorry. You're a nice guy. They kept putting Cole Holcomb out there. They would put him on the front of everything. He was always on their videos. These always on their Instagram all over. Huh?
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I'm right.
Now, to your point about that pass rush, also, I feel like Daron Payne's another guy that we should have mentioned to have, I feel like if he has a huge game and a crucial game.
Good. It's contract
contract year, going against a guy like Brandon Sheriff, who I'm sure he's licking his chops to go against a guy that left here, and he went against him every day in practice. So I feel like he can get the better of him, those kind of his moves and techniques. So if they can get that inside rush and kind of push Trevor Lawrence outside the pocket, then you got Montez Sweat and James Smith-Williams and all those guys there too as well. So, yeah, you guys are right. Defensive line is definitely going to be the key.
Yep, I agree with you there. Now, Keith, before we let you out of here, I got to get your prediction for the season now. Obviously, the Brian Robinson news kind of throw things for a ride for me personally and how I viewed how things were going to go. But I want to get your opinion. Now we're a week before the season. Jaguars are coming up. How are you feeling about this team? What's your record prediction?
I'm going to stick to what I've always been saying because, again, I like to keep my expectations. Yeah, no, that's something the other hog farmers would say, but I don't play that. I don't play that raw stuff. No, I'm going to stick with 9 wins. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to stick with the 9 wins just because I have to believe the acquisitions this season at least gave us a 2-win advantage. And I take a look at the schedule last season and the games that Taylor Heineke played against and, the games that we won. And I would just have to, we're going to have some games that we win that we don't think we're going to win. And we're going to have some games, obviously, this is just the way football. So vice versa. Mm-hmm. This is just the way football is. So again, I at least have to say with Carson Wentz, Jahan Dotson, and, this offense, man, I have to at least believe that we're going to at least get 2 more wins. I want to see some type of progression.
Yeah, my man. I'm glad. Well, thank you for being real about that. 9-8 is not too crazy, but that should be the expectation for this team, to be in the positive, to make the playoffs, to actually compete, because that's what we've been trying to build here for so many years. We actually weren't. And this is actually a good, formidable team, and I agree with you, Keith. All right, guys. Also, before we get out of here, I know with the week one, we're a week away from the UK coming over here. I mean, I cannot wait for the guys. So we got our tickets today. We're going to be sitting up in the 200s. Hull and I and 2 of our coworkers are going. I cannot wait for week 1, man.
Yes, sir.
Cannot wait. All right, everybody. Yeah. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a safe, great weekend, and enjoy the weather. I'm Kyle.
Oh.
And I'm NFL scout Daniel Kelly.
Scout Daniel Kelly. Keith, I can't thank you enough.
And I'm just flat out sexy. So
yeah, you are, and you're also Jesse. as well.
Yes, you are. He is also Jesse. All right, everybody. We want to hear from you guys. What's your record prediction for the season? We're a week away. What's one player you think needs to elevate on offense or defense? Do you agree with us? Who was right and who was wrong? We want to hear from you guys. We always appreciate your insight into things. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a safe weekend, everybody. Oh, it's draft weekend, baby. I cannot wait for Sunday. All right, everybody. Watching
Sundays
football.
For the boys. Woo! Peace.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!